Is living in Concal still more affordable than living in the USA? So that's a question I got from one of the comments in YouTube, and it continues with dollar signs are floating through my head after your most recent videos, especially losing your rental deposit money. I imagine once you have your own house, you will not have to put up with that nonsense, even though all of the upkeep and maintenance will be on your back as a homeowner. It sounds preferable. So listen, now Merida is experiencing some rapid growth, and yes, the cost of living here, like it is all over the world, is rising, and it's costing more. Same way in the United States, everything, cost of living is just rising everywhere. But at the end of the day, it's still going to be significantly cheaper than living in the US, particularly for those that might be on a fixed income or their retirement is not as much as they would like it to be. It would be very difficult to live on, let's say, $1,500 a month income in the United States versus here. Now, Concal is on the outside of Merida. So Merida is around a big perimeter, a big circle, and Concal is outside that circle. And typically, the further outside that circle you go, the cost of living tends to get less. However, in the northern part of Merida, again outside of that circle, the northeast, the northwest, even the north, there's a lot of growth moving out in that area as well. So outside the perimeter tends to be cheaper, but it's still costs are rising there because everybody's starting to flood out to that area, to these areas as well. But again, it's still going to be significantly less than the States. And being in the outskirts, out in the perimeter of Merida, you still going to get more for your money than you would on the inside of the city, within the perimeter of Merida. And when I say on the inside of the perimeter of Merida, I'm not talking about all of Merida, because you have Central, which is the center. And when I make this comment, when I say when you live in the north, I'm primarily talking about north of Central. So whether it's northeast, northwest, or north, again, the cost of living is going to be a little higher. Now, but there's also a southern part of Merida, southwest, southeast, and the south, below Central, south of Central. And the development is not as massive as it is on the northern side of Merida. So even then, you can find some very affordable options if you choose to live on the east side, the west side, or the south side of Merida. It's not dangerous. It just doesn't look as desirable as many parts of the north. And being quite honest, foreigners, particularly those coming from the United States, it's going to look drastically different on the southeast and west side, whereas the north side and the northwest or the northeast tends to have a lot of resemblance of what it looks like in the States. So you'll see a lot of familiarity when you live in the northern parts of Merida. So if you're looking for, and again, you can still find great deals, but you just got to take your time, do the research, and look. For example, the house I'm in now, I'm paying $750 a month. The house, which is 5 minutes down the road, that's wrapped up inside of a Pravada, which is like a gated community, I was paying about $1,400 a month. So I was able to slash my price significantly just by not staying in the Pravadas where all the fancy places are at. And although the house that I'm in now is a brand new house, first person living in the house, and it's bigger than a house that I had in the Pravada. I have a lot more space, have a more yard space, I have a bigger pool. I like it. I like it a whole lot better than when I was in the Pravada. I have more space to work out of, just a lot more flexibility and freedom. And I think there's a total of 22 lots on this street. So this street at the end, it deads in, it closes off, and so that means no traffic coming through, in and out, and all of that. So it's going to be cheaper, way cheaper. And let's say, for example, I read, according to the Social Security Administration, the average Social Security check that a person receives is a little over $1,700 a month. That may be difficult to live on in the States. And keep in mind, costs are rising all over the world. Not just the United States, it's rising here, it's rising in Asia, it's rising in Europe, it's rising everywhere. So, and like I said, it's rising here, but it's gonna be less here. But you make up for some other things as well, and I'll talk about some of that in a minute. The issue with my deposit, here's the issue. I moved 3 times in the last 3 years that I've been here. And so, and each time I had to pay a deposit and I lost it. So it's not an issue of the deposit. The main thing is finding a good place the first time and just sitting tight and not bouncing around. And so the deposit becomes a non-issue if you get in a place and you sit tight. Me, I move around a lot. And so, and as which each move, it costs money to move, it costs money to pay the deposits, and it costs money, it just costs more. But if you're a person who could just sit tight, you don't have to worry about that. Or what you won't have to worry about is losing as many deposits as I have. And you're right, the best option, if you can afford to, would be to buy a home, because once you buy a home, you have no more mortgage, you have no rent, and the rent, it won't fluctuate as the exchange rate fluctuates. So that's the best option. The best route to go is get a place where and your costs are fixed. And like I say, the cost of living here is significantly cheaper. Your cell phone bill is going to be cheaper. Your internet bill is going to be cheaper. And I talked about that in another video I posted in the link below, where I kind of break down what it actually costs in terms of services and stuff to live here: gas, electric, water, internet, phone, all of that. So I talk about that in another video. So you're gonna be saving a lot of money there also. And then any activities that you get yourselves involved with is gonna be, you're gonna save a lot of money there. The main thing is many people spend a lot of their money eating out. And if you're gonna go out and eat at the fancy restaurant versus eating at mom and pops or the local restaurants versus the chain restaurants, you're gonna save a lot of money. So a lot of people spend a lot of money eating out. But there are a lot of places, you know, the other day I went and got me some tamales. I paid 20 pesos for one that was a premium one, and I paid 15 pesos, which is like 75 cents for the other. Is that right? Yeah, 75 cents. And 2 or 3 of those, man, and you stuff, you full. That's a meal, that's dinner. So you really gotta learn how to shop where the local shop. Don't go to Home Depot if you don't have to, when you can go to the local hardware store. They got them everywhere. I went and bought a tape measure the other day for like $1.50. You know what I mean? It would have been more going to Home Depot. They're gonna sell you the ones for $8 and $10 and $15. I can go buy a $15, a $30 hammer, but I can go to the local hardware store and get one for $1.25. So the key is gonna be not shopping and doing things and buying from places that you're familiar with and the brands and the companies that you're familiar with from back home, but learning how to buy and do everything local. That's the main thing. Again, I think you want to save a lot more money. Like I say, the apartment, and when I was living in the United States, I had a 2-bedroom apartment in South Carolina. I was staying in temporarily, and I was paying $1,000 a month, $975, I believe, to be exact. That was 3 years ago. I called back and went online and looked at the rates, and they charged like $1,800 for that 2-bedroom apartment. It wasn't even fancy. It was, I think the buildings were like 30 years old. Wasn't a lot of space, and now they're charging $1,800 for something that I was paying essentially $1,000 for just 3 years ago. So here now I'm paying $750 for this big house, and a few months I just moved out of the place where I was paying $1,400 a month for a house. but it was because it was in a pretty Pravada, pretty community. It cost a whole lot more, and this house is bigger, significantly larger, a larger pool, larger yard, brand spanking new, and I'm paying half, $750 US. I mean, the deals are there. You just got to find them. I was looking at a house yesterday. Angel and I were riding around, brand new 3-bedroom house, I believe, 2-bedroom or 3-bedroom, 1-level home with a pool in the back, a wall that wraps around the whole property. I think it was for 109,000 US. So if you can lock in and get a fixed rate, that way you eliminate the mortgage, eliminate the rent, that would be the best option for those that can afford it. Like I said, the Social Security Administration says the average Social Security check is like $1,700 a month. Yes, that's difficult to live on in the States, but you can come here and live very well. You can find houses or apartments for $250 a month or $300 a month. Some are gonna look okay and some not so okay, but you can get in those places and fix them up. And while it may not be the prettiest thing in the world, it's gonna be very affordable, and you'll be able to live comfortable and have a whole lot more money left over, and you can actually save some money so you can fly back and forth to the States to visit family and friends. Now, you don't have to live that at a $300 spot. I mean, there are beautiful places. Like I say, everybody's tastes are different, and some folk might be coming from an area where they're paying, I don't know, $700 a month in the States, and they live in a rat hole. And so, and the $350 a month rents here will look better than those $700 rat holes in the States, and you're only paying $350. So everybody's taste and tolerance are gonna be different. In the States, plenty of people live in an area where the rent might be $500 and it's kind of run down, and it might have more crime. And for me, those are places I would never live in, but there are millions of people living in those areas in fear of their life, fear of crime, fear of violence. And when they come down here and look at these $300 a month spots or $200 a month spots, to them it looks like heaven. They're like, oh my God, I'm getting all of this for $250, I'm getting all of this for $300, whereas I might be looking at it and be like, So my point is, everybody have their own preferences, their own taste, and what looks right and looks good for them. But one thing is for certain, all of these areas are very safe. So whatever your budget is, you're gonna be safe in your home. You're not gonna be ducking bullets. You're not gonna be worried about folk coming up and robbing you at gunpoint. None of that nonsense. The violent crimes. So yes, it's affordable out here in Concal. Like I say, on the outside the perimeter, costs are going to be significantly less. Although costs outside the perimeter are rising because people are flooding into areas like Concal, Tamason, Sitsia, Cholula, Jablagao, what else? So people are just moving here. Chichi Suarez, folks are moving out. And so naturally, when that happens, the costs rise. You get a whole lot more for your money outside the perimeter versus on the inside. You're gonna pay a lot more and you're gonna get less. You're gonna get less space. So you just gotta shop. You gotta do the research, crunch the numbers, look at the different options, go to these places, see them for yourself, and make some decisions. But overwhelmingly, yes, it's gonna be significantly cheaper here than staying in the United States. No doubt in my mind. Now, some things are, the food, you don't save a whole lot of money on food here versus there unless you're shopping at the markets. So again, remember, comes back to going where the locals shop. I can say, for example, the kids like eating potatoes. We got these air fryers, so they like making their fries. And so we buy these potatoes now in the store, in the grocery market. Those potatoes run like 42 pesos a kilo, which is about $2 for 2 pounds, 2.2 pounds of potatoes. It's about $2. If I go to the market, I get those same potatoes for about 22 pesos a kilo, so almost half. So I'm paying about $1 for 2 pounds of potatoes. So that's the difference when you go to the market. You get more for less. So, and it don't sound like much, but when you're making those types of purchases every week, every month, over 12 months, the savings will add up. So definitely shopping at the market, going down to the ocean directly and getting my fish from the fishermen as they get out the boat won't save me a boatload of money versus buying fish in the market, at the store. So you will save a lot of money on the real estate side, and you'll save money if you're willing to shop like the local shop. Regarding the deposits and stuff, yes, now me, I moved around, I moved 3 times since I've been here, and each time I lost my deposit. And so each time I moved into a new place, I had to pay deposits. And so if you're a person that can take your time and find the right place and just sit tight and stay in one place for 3 or 5 years until you're ready to buy something or build something, then losing deposit doesn't become a big issue. It's not a big money loss. Now, the size of my deposits, hey, I was paying $1,400 a month in the last place, so obviously my deposit's going to be significantly higher, paying 2 deposits. I mean, that's $2,800. It's going to be higher versus if I was living in a place for $500 a month, my deposit would only be $1,000. So if I lost $1,000, it doesn't hurt as bad as, say, losing $2,800. But we all like what we like, you know what I mean? So the majority of people that are coming here are not spending that type of money on rent or on houses, although there is a sizable population that's coming here and buying 300, 400, 500,000 US dollar homes every day. You know, so again, there's a market for everybody. You don't have to go out there and spend $1,000 a month on a place if you don't want to. I have a big family, 5 of us living here. We work from home, so we need a space to work versus going out and getting the office. You know, so you know we used to live in the way we want to live. Just because you come from the state doesn't mean you have to necessarily downgrade what you would live in. But I'm just saying that what you would live in the United States, and if you brought this and came here and looking for a similar spacing, it's going to be significantly less. Yes, you will have more cost maintaining a home, but again, the labor here is very, very affordable, so it's not going to break the bank. It's still going to be significantly less than what you would be doing in the United States. So hopefully that answered your question. In another video, I broke down costs, what costs look like to live here, like water, and not just water that come out your faucet. You also got to take in consideration how much it costs for drinking water, because the water is coming from 2 different places, 2 different sources. You got to pay for each. Utilities, gas, water, trash, internet bills, cell phone bills. So we break that down in the previous couple of videos. So make sure you check that out. So again, take your time. You can negotiate with some landlords on deposits. Some are more flexible than others. Most are just like, no, these are the terms. This is the way that it is. They're not pressed. You know, a lot of folks had this idea that, hey, I can come down there and I'm going to put this money in an escrow. I'm going to put this money. I'm going to skip out. If I give up 2 deposits, I'm not going to pay the last 2 months rent. Well, good luck with that, because it ain't the States. When you don't pay, they come throw you out. It ain't no, oh, I got to take you to court type deal 6 months later. No. If your rent is due on the 1st and you think you're going to skip out without paying the last 2 months rent and you're going to hold it, by the 10th day, they coming with the police. They going to take you and your stuff and throw you out the house. You know what I mean? So a lot of folks feel they can get clever and say, oh, I want to pay my last 2 months. That ain't going to work. It don't work like that. Remember, it's not the same like it is in the States. You know what I mean? So you have to figure out some other options, but you just gotta get real creative when you work it out with some of these landlords. So And there are workarounds. And so, but my last place I was at, the deposit that I lost, yeah, I owed the money. You know what I mean? I was rightfully not entitled to the deposits. You know, you must return the house back the same way you got it. And as I mentioned in the other video, if the house was, if all the walls were white and clean when you moved in, they expect it to be white and clean when you move out. There's no, what's the word that they use in the United States? Normal wear and tear. If you've been in a house for 2 years in the States, normal wear and tear, meaning they understand that they probably gonna rip the carpet up and put some new ones down. They gonna come in and repaint the walls. That's not the case. There's no such thing as normal wear and tear here. If the walls are dirty and they have to come and paint it, you're paying for it. If the grass is dead when you move out and it wasn't dead when you moved in, you're paying for it. And so a lot of folks are like, well, I just won't move there. Well, don't. You're not hurting anything here, but you really are hurting yourself, because at the end of the day, even though things are different and how things are done are different, the quality of life is still going to be better. I'm not going to let that keep me from living my best life and keep me out of here. Again, you have to unlearn everything that you've learned in the States, because this is not the United States. They have their own way of doing things here, and it just doesn't line up with how we do there. For example, you know, folks are saying, oh, you can put this money in escrow and they not supposed to touch it. Well, maybe they ain't supposed to touch it, but escrow don't exist in Mexico. It's not a thing here. And the idea that you can come and change it and make it so, it ain't happening. And Mexico is not the only place where they do this at. Now, other places, while many of us are complaining about 2 deposits, many parts of the world, you have to pay 12 months rent up front before you can even move in. They're like, no, you don't know anybody here, you're a foreigner. If you don't pay, we can't come after you. So if you want to live in one of our places, you have to put up 12 months worth of rent, period. No exceptions, no options. That happens all over the world. And get what? People who want to live in those places come up with a way and they pay those 12 months. Living in those places is not an option for everybody. Living here in Mexico is not an option for everybody. You know, and I get it. But I tell you, quality of life here, even though I might lose my deposit to get frustrated, is significantly better. I have less stress, less frustration. Now, I had some stress when I first got here, dealing with trying to adjust to the culture and the way things are done. But once you get past that part, it's smooth sailing, y'all. It's smooth sailing. So don't focus so much on what you lose. Look at and focus on what you gain. You gain your life back. You can afford to be a husband. You can afford to be a wife. You can afford to be a mother, father. You can afford to be an individual. You can afford the things that you couldn't afford back in the States. There are a whole bunch of pros than there are cons. Yesterday I went to the beach. The day before I went to the beach, my daughter was like, me and my friend gonna go to the beach, can't take her to the beach. I dropped them off at the beach and I walked around the beach and had a good time. It's 25 minutes down the street. If I wanna go to a cenote, I can hop in my car and go to a cenote and hang out and have a good time. I can pick up the phone and call my pharmacy, so we'll send a message to say, hey, I need my medicine, I ran out, I need my medicine refilled of this. And they bring it to my door 15, 20 minutes later. I mean, you just can't get that. And they call me, they deliver it for free, but I tip $1. You know what I mean? If I want a Snickers bar, I'm sitting down watching TV and I just have a craving for a Snicker bar. I just go on and order a Snicker bar and a Coca-Cola, and it's at my house in 15 minutes. Need the doctor to come by, I can call the doctor, I can have a doctor come by for $35. Or I can go to the pharmacy doctor 5 minutes down the road and pay $3.50 to see the doctor and get my prescription filled and come on home. The pros outweigh the cons, hands down. Now, it is an adjustment, and I keep stressing that. It's not easy. It can be overwhelming, but if you can ride it out and fight it, best decision ever. So don't focus on the deposits. Like I say, that's an issue that I had. One, I paid a lot because my place was much more expensive. Now this place here, I was able to negotiate and only had to pay one deposit, which was only $750 versus the $2,800 deposit. Because the place here was slashed in half. And I was able to negotiate one deposit. So the deals are out there. You got to shop around, do the work. So don't get caught up. If you need help finding a place, let me know. We offer relocation services. We're not the cheapest game in town, but we're going to get you what you need and find you what you want. And we're going to take care of you while you're here. Book a consultation, moveabroadandthrive.com. You'll see an option, a link for booking a consultation. Let's talk on the phone about your plans. I think I got a call now, matter of fact. Yep, 9 minutes. I forgot to set my timer. So I got to go. Thanks for watching. If you found our content helpful, consider a donation. Also, make sure you join our free newsletter on our website at www.moveabroadandthrive.com for free tips and resources about moving abroad. Thanks.